happens is people will talk just like you did about, the problems of the rain and the cold, the heat. But the big thing is not just focusing on not losing your crop, but how to actually increase the yield or the quality or the revenue.
Irrespective of the climate.
Yeah, because, a windy day creates bruising or scarring. And all of a sudden you don't have a marketable fruit, or sunburn takes away your marketable fruit, or too hot makes your fruit smaller. So this is where, and that's why Rajendra set up the call to say, hey, we're how do we figure out these opportunities? Because there's farmers that if farmers can't invest, they're not even a potential market because they don't have the capital.
Absolutely right.
And then you've got farmers that have the capital, but they just don't want to invest. They just always will do things the cheapest way, and that's their strategy, and you're never going to change it. So you're never going to sell them something that is more expensive, but will give them a good return because they just don't want to invest the money. And then the final category is the one that has the potential, which is they have the capital and the willingness to invest in, let's say, appropriate solutions that provide the ROI. They just don't know what's possible.
True. Well put. Absolutely.
So, grapes is, Rajendra's spoken for years about grapes, but I've never seen a return on investment on grapes unless you are hitting a really early market. If you can get a premium by getting really early or late or something,
absolutely,
then that's the only time really that I've seen that there's a potential for an ROI.
So that too is not working in the table grape conditions specifically for the Indian grape exporters. Like I know the grape exporters and the industry for last more than 27 years because I myself was a farmer of 55 acres of grapes in my native place in Kutch in the 90s, along with pomegranates, mango, lemon. I've grown about 500 acres in the hot climate of Kutch. Vis-a-vis, we also have done a lot of hydroponic projects. But when we look at the open field cultivation and when we start covering it, it becomes really difficult to sell anything in the Indian market. If we take the context of any crop, even today, if I take the incidence of say blueberry or raspberry, the prices have come down drastically since what it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Because now the entire world wants to push their products to Indian market and the importers are getting quite aggressive. So importing from Poland, Peru is cheaper than probably sometimes, growing it here is what the mood is going on sometimes in some of the investors. So when we say that this climate is playing an havoc, so the crop selection is going to make a big role here. Big role.
Yeah. That's where the timing comes in. Peru is causing problems worldwide on blueberries. They just nobody can touch the
Nobody
price.
can compete them. Yeah.
No.
And now even some African countries like Egypt is starting to grow. South of the East European market is becoming quite aggressive again. So it's all the crop cycle is shifting everywhere now.
Yeah, if you look at strawberries, raspberries, they don't transport as well as a blueberry, so there's opportunities there.
Yeah.
When you get into the pomegranates and things like that, that's where hitting windows is still possible, but it's really got to be where can you get that premium for the bigger sizes or the better harvest timing. When you're growing grapes, how many rupees or dollars per acre of revenue can you generate?
I'll give you a simple example. 1 acre will give a production of export quality about 10 tons, 10,000 kgs. The farmer farm price for the farmer would be say about 70 to 80 dollar cents. Not even 70, 80 sometimes, but even it can go up to say $60 also. So $0.6, 0.7, 0.8. Sometimes when they're really early and there is some problem in other country, it can shoot to above $1. These are all ex-farm prices. So if I consider good quality production, which is say 10 tons out of the 14, 15 tons that they get, so 10 tons, they can get easily something like a average of $0.7.
Yeah.
So it's like 70,000. That amount is
That's only 7,000 per acre.
correct. Correct.
And now when you talk about, see, the thing is, when I'm trying to do this analysis myself, I look at what's the average yield, but also what's the best yield you've ever seen?
For the local production, we have seen 26 tons per acre. Even one farmer had crossed 29 to 30 tons per acre. But that
Okay.
was all huge production with very less quality. It was not for exports, it's for the resin market.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
if you consider something like a resin market, but again, a resin is something that you get 365 days. So coming up with an off season for resins is no point.
No,
So
no, no.
again, that spoils the mood when we consider that yield. But if I go
Yeah.
for the export market, I have seen farmers getting about max to max 15, 16 tons of exportable produce in an acre.
Right. Okay. And that's important, Chetan, because when you look at the variation in yield from year to year, that's not because the genetics, it's because the climate.
Climate, mostly climate.
So the first question is, what's the genetic potential of that
Variety.
variety?
Correct.
And then the second part is, how do you create the optimal climate consistently year to year? Because one minute it's cold, the next year it's wind, the next year it's hail, the next year it's frost, the next year there's always something that takes the yield away.
True.
So if you can push it from 10 to 15 tons, and then you can get, instead of 60 cents, you can get 80 cents because it's better quality or it's early or something like that.
Yeah.
Now you've got, 15 times 80. So whatever that is, that's 120,000. 120,000 per acre.
Yes, somewhere. Yeah.
Sorry, 12,000 per acre.
$12,000.
So now you can start to do an ROI. But for the people that have done the rain shelter covers over the grapes, has that been a successful venture? Are they happy that they put the rain shelter cover, or did the rain shelter cover start other problems?
Okay, I'll give you the story from the beginning. 2011, we started to import rain covers for grapes. I've been forcing these guys that looking at the climatic conditions worldwide, I was sure that climate is going to play an havoc and these guys are going to face some problems. For 2011, 12, 13, 14, 3 years, I marketed this concept a lot to government, to institutes, to growers, to exporters, and all of them were making fun of me. That why do you want to push the greenhouse industry in our industry? You go back to your greenhouse industry. It's better for you. You sell plastics there, not to us. We don't need it anymore. But then gradually after 2015-16, people started to fall in the trap of the climate. And there's one particular pocket in Maharashtra which started to sell, which started to demand for plastic. And that's where it started. So 2015-16, we put up the first 10 acres of grape covers. Those people got good success. But in that success, what happened? One of the grower whom we were very close to, he felt that it's going to be a very big market. And he was an exporter of grapes. He had good connections with the Italians. So he just went to Italy, tied up with some company and brought the plastic over here. That year he sold 38 acres of plastic. And unfortunately, the entire 38 acres of plastic, complete failure. All 30 out of them lost the money. The reason they brought plastic, which was for the European climatic conditions, and they pushed it in this market and it failed. It was extremely hot inside. There was a lot of pest attack inside and it failed miserably. So till 2018-19, everybody felt that this concept is of no use because plastics is actually damaging the crop rather than giving benefit to them. But still those people who survived, the one of you, about 10, 12 farmers, they kept on going ahead. And their success repetitively gave some hopes to other farmers that let us try. So all of them started by half acre, 1 acre, half acre, 1 acre. That's the orders that we used to get. Even today also, this year we did something about say 160 acres. Out of that, 90% of the orders were for 1 acre. So you can imagine like this is the market share which is going up. But now, today, I can confidently say that in some pockets, 70 to 80% of the farmers will have to go on plastics. Their only problem is they don't have funds. They've lost money very badly since last 3-4 years. But the demand is 100% there. Thanks to my patience of sticking in this industry for 10 years, now I'm trying to get the reward. But in this last 10 years, I've lost humongous amount of money promoting this concept. We've also drafted the entire subsidy policy for the government. Myself and one farmer, we've tried to push this concept ahead. Unfortunately, we don't get the freedom of design and freedom of the budget that we require for the structures. So we had to literally come down to 50% of the actual required budget in the subsidy. Now that 50% is going to come down to another 50% to the farmer. So that hype of 50% is killing the industry more now because farmers wanted subsidy and they're not getting the subsidy. It's still not come into the budget because the government does not have the fund. So now the farmers are all waiting for the budget to come, the fund to come, and then they'll go and push in. Everybody will start with one acre and all that. So it's a slow process going on right now over here. But the demand is increasing every year phenomenally.
Yeah.
And the challenge here, Richard, is not to give a solution just by design of the technicalities of the structures, but to fit in the economical budget also.
Absolutely.
Which has been the biggest challenge out here. I am selling the most expensive film right now. I am nearly 30-40% expensive than the cheaper ones. So I'm facing a lot of critics, but I'm still managing to survive because I'm giving the right plastic since I know grape physiology, I know pomology, I know the climatic conditions of all the locations where the farmers have put. I know a little bit of irrigation and nutrition. So we are in constant touch with the farmers, and that's how we've been able to survive so far. But those who are selling the cheaper ones, they don't know anything about grapes. They don't know anything about the climate. They've just put it because the farmer wants a cheaper product and they're just bombarding it and killing the market simultaneously. So here I'm trying to push the market, upgrade it. On the other side, there is the economic cheaper ones who are trying to push the market, killing the market.
Well,
they feel they're helping the farmers, but I'm sure they're killing the farmers gradually, slowly. So that's the challenge in India, which is very big, very big.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's leaders and followers. It costs money to lead, and it's easy to try to copy and be cheaper.
Yeah,
but that's
exactly.
And so you have to choose your strategy.
But there's one thing that I would like to add here, Richard, is that when Cravo was coming to India with Rajendra, all of us felt that Rajendra is going to lose his job in a year or so time. But he proved us all wrong. And I can say this very openly, even though he is on the line, but I can tell that the entire industry was literally laughing at the price range of Cravo. And everybody felt that nobody would be buying such structures in India. And he sold such huge orders. So that was a big shock to the entire industry. So when we, as typical people who've been selling these concepts or trying to concept, we have seen the bottom market and that's why we are not able to grow. But what Rajendra has seen is the upper market, the people who are not from the industry, and he's put them into this industry. And that's exactly what we should be focusing again back on the fruit industry. So probably grape industry or a pomegranate industry or strawberry industry. Rajendra has got very good contacts with people now who've got this, they are investor farmers, not farming farmers.
That's the difference.
That's the difference. And that's where I feel this can be done. It may be slow, but it can be done.
Yeah. The economics issue is the first issue that has to be solved.
Yep.
Which crop, which variety, which location, what control strategy, what plant density or pruning technique, because if you're talking any tree fruits, you need a high density orchard, the best variety. You got to put the best genetics, the highest
Absolutely.
density, and
Absolutely.
pack it full, and then optimize the climate after that.
Yeah. And I've seen grape growing in many continents except South America and USA. I've traveled nearly to all the continents to see the grape farming, table grape farming specifically. So I've been to Australia, South Africa, Italy, France, Spain, all the places, Egypt, wherever, Israel, wherever they are growing good table grapes. And trust me, nobody has gone for fully automated structures so far because I feel that they are not able to face the price band. But but looking at the climatic conditions going haywire across the world, it seems that the table grape prices will also shoot up in the next year. So I was just speaking to a few exporters this year, and they said that the market is too dynamic. It's too volatile right now to understand where the prices will go. If there is a bumper crop, they are in a problem, and if there is no crop, also there is a problem. And they are
Yeah.
seeing that there is no stability in any of the countries which is growing table grapes.
Yeah.
So the opportunity for India is big because India is the only country to give the table grapes in the month of February, March, and April. Rest of the entire months is what the production comes from the other countries. So
Right.
India is the only country which receives advance for their produce. So table grapes, India is the only country which receives advance money for the because there is no table grapes across in the world in that time. In the
Yeah. Yeah.
last 4 or 5 years, we've seen that change. Now, South America is also pushing in due to plastics. They are also able to give in that period. The other people are also trying to give in that period. So now the dynamics has changed in such a way that now in India, people have started to grow in harvest in December, January, February, which was not done earlier. So for the last 4 or 5 years, they've been doing that. April up to April, May, now some people are trying to get the harvest. So if we
Yeah.
can tap the market of that May, June, and in this side, if we can get it in the October, November months, I feel we can tap a good market.
Yeah. Interesting. Chetan, in the with the grape covers that the Indian farmers have been working with, is that all the extruded plastics, not woven and coated?
It's all woven laminated.
Oh, it's all woven and laminated.
All woven laminated. The extruded films have not worked here because we had imported from Vinegar. It was turning out to be a little expensive, but somehow the woven laminated is quite cheaper even at very high thickness, and we are getting good results with that so far.
Really?
Of course, I would love to push the extruded films also, but it requires a different type of structure, which
Yeah.
these guys are not ready to invest. So
Yeah.
with the strength of the woven laminated, it is more practical to push that concept here.
Interesting. So when you're doing your covers over grapes, what is the road to road distance? How many meters or feet apart are the road?
2.7 meters is the average, but we do get orders from 2.6 till up to 2.9 meters or 2.5 also in a few cases, but mostly it is 2.8, 2.9 meters.
Okay. And if you're in the pomegranate industry?
A little bit wider in terms of 3 and 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the cherry industry, they're talking 4 meters,
Yeah,
up to 4,
up to 4.
depending on the pruning technique.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
countries, high labor cost countries will put them a little further apart because they want to do more automation with tractors and things like that.
Absolutely.
Have the
Yeah.
labor.
And
So it
there's
really,
one more good thing happening in India is that now people are trying to grow the crops of high altitude in lower altitudes. Now there are some good varieties coming in which can work in low altitudes. So low altitude, the advantage is that you get flatlands. In the higher
yes,
altitude mode, we don't have the proper flatlands, so it was
yep,
difficult to put these structures. But if we go
yep,
with the new varieties of raspberries which is coming in India, we have taken production in 42 degrees. In 42 degrees, I was shocked to see the plant absolutely surviving very well in just a simple plastic that we are supplying. So that means that the scope of growing the high altitude crops at the lower altitude crops is something that I think will be a game changer for us.
How big is the raspberry industry then?
raspberry, blueberry, apples, even lychee. Now I'm talking to a customer for lychee production and lychee in dense plantation. Again, same like you said, dense plantation is the only way to recover the cost. So we are thinking of a lychee production in Gujarat, which is like, it's going to be a miracle for Gujarat because they've never seen lychee crops in Gujarat. So these are the things that we'll have to go and try it out.
Are you seeing the farmers moving to that higher density plantation?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Because that's really a prerequisite.
Yep.
If you don't move to high density, you'll never cover it.
Yes, absolutely. I agree that. I agree that. Less is more and more is less sometimes. Like that.
Well, especially, in India where land holdings are small, you need to get the maximum density out of every acre. And Indians are not are not known for being tall, so they can reach the top branches very easily.
Even mangoes now, people have started to go with dense plantations. Mango, then this thing, what do you call? अपने पेरू को क्या बोलते हैं? अमरूद को? राजेंद्र जी? Guava, sorry, guava.
Guava, okay.
The big guava is something which people are now trying to grow in dense plantations. So we'll have to increase the yield. That's the only way to recover the cost, what we want to make them income.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you start looking at automating a rain shelter on large scales, just say 10 hectares, and just say you're, here's the interesting thing, Chitin, in my discussion so far. People start out with, I want a rain shelter. And then they go, but if you could also keep it warmer so it could get earlier, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now you want a rain shelter that's a greenhouse.
True. They want magic from everything that you can give them, but they don't want to pay for that magic.
Well, the interesting part is that if it's just a rain shelter, you really don't need any sidewalls. It's just about the roof.
Correct.
The moment you start talking about trying to keep it warmer, now you have to invest in the perimeter walls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the key here, I'm going to say I'm fortunate enough that I've spent enough time in India to understand a lot of the things you're discussing. And, the problem, the moment you introduce subsidies, it freezes
Exactly.
the behavior of the farmers because they just wait for a subsidy and they won't do anything because they don't want to use their own money if they don't have to.
Absolutely. I agree. It's actually pain for us.
Yeah, it's a problem. Italy had the same problem. There was always subsidies there, and well, I might invest if the subsidy comes out. Okay, fine, go somewhere else because
absolutely.
You're not going to change that. Whereas the investor will make the right decision because he's got capital. He just needs to be convinced that he's going to be a long-term winner and the risk is controlled.
True.
So are there enough large players in the grape pomegranate industry to actually make investments like that?
Initially, it will be tough, but what I was speaking to Rajendra is that somehow, if we manage to show them what we can offer, that's by breaking the first nut, as we say. If we can manage to get one or two customers who can do that, I will make sure I have that contact that the entire grape industry will come there to see the structure and see the benefits.
Yeah.
But the biggest challenge is to find that the first and second customer. That's it.
Well, see, the thing, this discussion is so much easier now than 5 years ago because we can see what happened with if you take Triangle Farms and Simply Fresh, those were outside investors who built a facility from scratch.
True.
Okay. Whereas DS was already an existing agricultural business that expanded and diversified.
Right.
Now, in the case of the grapes and the pomegranates, if the investors are in the business already, it's easy for them to understand the business and to understand the benefits of covering, because they already have the business.
Absolutely.
And Simply Fresh had a bigger challenge because they're creating a business from scratch. So they don't have the management team. They don't have all the experts on staff. And so if you look at grapes and pomegranates as an example, and strawberries, if there's large companies that are already involved, then it's easy for them to make the investment because they already have people, they already know the economics, they can. So it's harder to take an investor from outside the industry and bring them into the industry because they have no knowledge. They don't have land, they don't have knowledge, they maybe have land that's growing tea or something like that, but so, are there companies already that are more of the investor who farms in those types of industries, or is everything basically done by the small farmer?
It's the grape industry particularly is done by small farmers only. There are no big companies who've invested, but we do see a change like companies like Sayadri Farms, which is a cooperative, which is one of the most successful cooperative in terms of grape or table grapes or even some major fruits. They have now understood the value. They were very negative initially, but now from this year onwards, they've also been positive. So what I foresee is that if we can somehow convince companies like them to show the other farmers, they've got 22,000 members, grape growers. If we can convince that company somehow to invest some 50%, 70% on the project cost and come across, that's where the game will change. Because they are grape growers, they are exporters, they've gone from scratch, they know each and everybody in the industry, and they are showcasing it how to produce. They know grapes in and out. If they are able to take advantage of the system, then I'm dead sure then we'll have a good line of followers in the coming years.
Right, and that's the key is that you need to have people like that can understand the potential value.
Absolutely.
And act on it faster.
Yes.
So I don't on the tree fruit industry, because it takes time to get your first harvest.
Yeah.
If you're not from inside the industry, it's really tough to get.
It's tough.
Unless you're in a reliance that just has, the cash.
Yeah, just enough money to take trials. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a different scenario here.
Yeah. But you know what we can do is, I was also thinking this just about before we started the meeting, is that if we can get some investors from your regular contacts, say for instance, just for an example, if a Dabur or say Simply Fresh wants to invest in grapes and put up these type of structures, I can talk to a few consultants of grapes who can help them to grow. Maybe they will put up the team, they will help them for the entire process. They will put up full-time staff also at the farm. I don't know, it's just an idea, but I'll have to talk to them. But if that can be arranged and shown to the world, that could also help us a little bit in the initial years.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you know that we have our own demonstration training centers in Mexico, and we operated those for two reasons. Number one, we needed to learn how the crops behave in those structures.
Yeah.
And then we had to demonstrate it. And not every crop that we grew was successful either as a crop or was not successful financially.
Absolutely.
So we might have grown it, but it wasn't a profitable crop to grow. And so the thing is, let's say for my position sitting here, I have to look at where is there a strong return on investment case for the farmer?
Absolutely.
And if you have a strong return on investment case, then there's a will to find ways to make something happen. Because this is not, I'll say, this is not going to be an R&D project, because we know retractable roofs. We have 40 years experience, right? And so this is more of a demonstration than research.
Absolutely.
So in order for everyone to invest the time, energy, money, whatever, you have to start with a plausible scenario for a good return on investment to the farmer. If we grow this pomegranate variety on this density, and if we can take the yield from here to here and the price per kilo from here to here, the return on investment would be 3 years.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's where it has to start.
True.
And so when we start out with grapes, we theoretically moved it from $7,000 an acre to $12,000 an acre. You know, that may or may not be enough to make it a good return on investment. So you can demonstrate it over grapes, but so what? Because
So what?
even if you prove $12,000, it's not a good return on investment. And
Absolutely.
so if you say by the time it's installed is let's just say in simple numbers, it's $80,000 a hectare, right? By the time you buy it, ship it, install it, whatever, is 80,000 an acre. Well, if you want a 4-year return on investment, you need to generate an additional $20,000 of revenue per acre. That's simple mathematics. So which crop can you get an extra $20,000 an acre? And now you've got a starting point for a return for a project. But if grapes are only generating 7, you're not going to get an extra 20.
Absolutely.
How do you get from 7 to 27? Like that part I can't imagine.
Absolutely.
And so we have to be realistic and start more at the simple economics, just like I did with you. What's an average yield? What's a fantastic yield? And what's a normal price and what's a great price? We'll multiply the two together and you go, there's your starting point. And so that's really the first exercise has to be understanding where's that market opportunity, because the reason, if you what you said was 100% correct. The people that bought some of the initial rain covers solved the rain problem and created 3 or 4 new problems. But then that's because they left the rain cover there for an extended period of time.
Absolutely.
And so once you automate the rain cover, well, you solve a problem without creating new ones.
Absolutely.
But you have to spend more to get that solution. And so which crop's going to give you that financial benefit? And so this is my challenge to Regender is we're developing we're developing a product. Okay, so but where it's going to be financially successful, you have to look at each region of the world, you know, Chile, Australia, India, Middle East, wherever. We know the Middle East, they don't want a rain protection system, they want a rain creation system.
Absolutely.
But so this is really the next step of the journey, going, okay, let's use our knowledge of the market to try to create the scenario where there is a potential ROI. And the moment the potential ROI looks positive,
absolutely, then everybody can come in.
Everybody will want to come in because
absolutely,
they go,
absolutely.
wow, all we need to do is prove that this logic is correct.
True.
And we've got a good scenario. And so that's my challenge to Regender, going, you got to find out.
But even if we go with just an afterthought, even if we go and procure most of the materials from India, how low can you come down per acre cost in totality?
Well, I mean, we are looking at Make in India, so that part's already on the table, because the import duties are just too punishing.
Yeah, it's too prohibitive. So what will be the ballpark figure according to you that can go, say, for erected farmer cost completely, all put together?
It's going to, and I'm not trying to evade the question, it's going to depend on 2 things. Number one, are we talking 1 acre or 20 acres? Because it's a motorized system, the cost drops.
Grape growers will not go beyond 1 acre. So definitely 1 acre.
Okay.
Max.
The moment you start with that as a constraint, you're never going to sell into grapes.
Okay. So what is the
Because
size that you would, the lowest size that you would prefer? I would ask that. Maybe a hectare?
I mean, let me put it this way. All the people we're talking to that are real serious, their trial area is 1 hectare, 1 to 2 hectares. That's their trial area.
Okay.
Okay, because the question is, once you put a motor on it,
I know.
are you also putting automation to automate the motor? Well, that automation, it might be $10,000 for the control system package. And if you're only doing 1 acre, well, you know, you can't
Yeah,
do
I
it.
agree. I agree. I agree. So say
You
1
can't.
hectare will go. I'm repeatedly asking this question is because I know most of the fruit crops.
Yeah.
I know most of the conditions in India. I know their economics. If you can give me a ballpark figure, this is going
Yeah.
to be the full cost for an hectare of automation of a rain cover system. I
Yeah,
can rework on certain crops and try to understand where we can push this concept more.
Yeah. Chetan, give me a week or two. We're just in the final stages of putting our we did an initial I'll call it test mock-up. And right now we're building a full size, you know, half acre one with all these different tests we're doing. And I'll have all the results of that within a week from today. And what we're looking at, you know, what's going to be the pricing if you have just the retractable rain shelter? What happens if you want to put net on the walls? What happens if you want motorized roll-up curtains on the walls? Because this is all part of what happens. If I'm just talking rain shelter, or now I'm talking about a greenhouse concept with a rain shelter.
Only rain shelter. No, we'll go with the most minimalistic because even after giving the full-fledged system over here, the farmers are not going to understand climatic conditions very well. So initially, we just help them to protect against rain, the morning dew. The third is the sunburning. That's it. These are the 3 major concerns. And of course, the cracking, which can be always supported due to rain covers. So if you take just these concepts.
Okay, I got one last question before we go back to price. Are these grapes are all for export, right? Or primarily for export?
Yeah, yeah. We have to catch them only. Yeah.
Okay. What is are you seeing that there's going to be more restrictions on the allowable chemicals that can be used when growing grapes?
They're already managing it for the last 20 years. So Indian grapes are quite famous worldwide for low residue of chemicals. They are very knowledgeable. In fact, I would say they are Indian farmers are even more knowledgeable than many of the countries that I visited.
Okay, yeah, because for example, in Europe, the apple growers are really worried because they're losing a lot of their fungicides.
Yeah.
And we're doing a project with Wageningen University in Holland where they already discovered that they can reduce fungicide usage 75%, which is really critical if you are facing a reduction in the number of chemicals that can be used.
No, rain cover is helping to reduce nearly 90% of the sprays required for downy mildew.
Yeah.
90%. Hardly they do 1 or 2 sprays. That's it. Not more than that.
Okay, good. So that's
already proven.
So in when I was looking at, I think it was 5 hectares. I think we were as low as $11 a square meter.
$11 a square meter, which will be quite heavy due to the dollar price also right now. So even if I take 85 into 11, 935 into 4,000. Oh, whoa. 37 lakhs. If I take his income, which he can generate the max to max, he will need at least 6.5 years to recover that cost of the structure only.
Yeah, and that's the issue. I mean, the moment you make it motorized, It has to be a good structure.
Absolutely.
It has to be a good drive system. And so this is part of the challenge is when you do it as a manual hand pull system, you can go cheap on a lot of the stuff because people just will pull and tug and make the thing move. But the moment you're moving it with a drive system, it has to be a consistent friction resistance.
Absolutely.
So I think in India, the number of hectare potential is great because there's lots of hectares, but the number of hectares that have sufficient profit generating ability is going to be the challenge.
Is the challenge. Yeah. We have more than 120,000 hectares of grapes, table grapes.
Yep.
So I shifted to the horticulture marketing of chemicals and everything because I found the greenhouse industry was peanuts in comparison to the orchard market. But when I really came into the orchard market, I found out that it was really tough to sell than even a greenhouse. Selling greenhouse was more better than selling a simple plastic in the orchard in India. So that's a big challenge. But Rajendra, this is again one more thought that is popping up in my mind.
Yeah.
The table grape growers particularly are looking for an alternative crop. Okay, they are looking for an alternative crop which they can switch to over a period of time because now they are completely fed up with the grapes and the climatic conditions. So even after putting up so much of infrastructure, they've understood that they are not going to get that return so fast, which is required. If somehow Richard is convinced to put up a demo unit of say only 1 acre in Nashik, I can arrange the land, I can arrange the farmer's place, I can arrange the management, he will do entire thing. If somehow we can convince Richard to put a 1 acre of a raspberry or a blueberry unit in Nashik and show them under rain cover. Okay. We don't grow in that typical structures under the same cherry type structures. Trust me, there are many people who are ready to jump into it if we can show them the profits. Forget table grapes. That area has got a phenomenal climate, very good climate. The temperatures don't go beyond 38 or 36 degrees sometimes in some pockets. The lowest that they go is around 3 degrees to 5 degrees. And in some villages, it goes to 0 degrees. So they've got a good climate overall. And if you can push the new low chill varieties of whatever blueberry or raspberries over there, I can get the farmer to invest in the planting material also. That is also not a problem. Only problem is their structure cost because they still don't know what is to be done with that structure. They don't know how to play with it. We can, if we can show them the profits, Richard, I'm not joking. You can get not less than 500 to 1,000 hectares pushing into this segment if we can show them the right production technology.
Well, here's the interesting thing, Chetan. In our R&D demo house in Mexico, we're growing raspberries in the flat roof house, which does not keep the rain off. And we are getting fantastic results. We don't have big problems with foliar disease, even though it's raining. The problem with raspberries is they're actually a low light crop.
Whatever, I'm just giving a name of raspberry because it's a hyper value crop. That's it.
Oh, no, but my point is that raspberries, the retractable flat roof house, like what DS built, is really that large scale house for crops that require protection from cold, heat, wind, and the impact of rain. And the rain shelter is specifically for crops that have to be kept dry. And so when we think about the crop mixes, I mean, Rajendra's initial focus was really tomato, pepper, cucumber, right? The multi-fruiting crops. But like what DS is doing with their 45 hectares, they're growing blueberries under a flat roof. So they're not keeping the rain off, but they are keeping really good control over the temperature of the plant, the impact of the rain and the wind, and protecting from frost and all that kind of stuff. So if we're going to go down this road of thinking of crops, what we need to do is remember there's two different structures that are this large scale covering system. So the flat roof is for crops that really need high protection from sun, which a raspberry does. And the rain shelter is really for the crops that have to be kept dry. And so a flat roof is also very economical. It's very similar in cost to the rain shelter. But they have different advantages and disadvantages. What I would suggest we do is first go, what are these alternate crops that need to be explored? And then we'll decide which structure makes the most sense.
Yeah, that is also fine. That is also fine. You know your structures well. If we can grow something in that climatic condition, grape growers are the most intelligent growers in India. Most intelligent. When it comes to mass farming, I think table grape, because they just looking by the plant condition, the number of leaves, they know what is going to be their yield.
Yeah.
So they do everything. It's a very minute level calculations which go into grape farming. These farmers have traveled the globe. They know what's happening across the world. And looking at that, I feel it's something that they're looking for an alternative here. I keep on getting that question.
Okay, and so see, that's interesting because the moment they're looking for an alternate crop, they have land, they have the growing experience.
True.
And you have to start with the market. What's the market looking for? And why, what crop could they be growing if they could manage the rain or the frost or the heat or things like that?
Absolutely. And the biggest problem with table grapes is the rains, the off-season rains. So rains and the dew in the winter. If these are the two major problems. When it comes to fertigation, fertilizer management, pest management, they are too good. I think India, the largest amount of fungicides are sold in that one village, which has got 158 pesticide shops in just one village. So these guys are terrific. They know the subject in and out about chemistry of the pesticides and fungicides and the nutrition part. What they are lacking behind, where we come in place, is the light management and the climate management. So that's where I've been able to stick around so far a little bit, just with the little bit knowledge that I worked with all these Guinea and other companies that helped me to understand the plastic technology. So looking at that, we have a good way to enter into this subject, which nobody knows. And fortunately, I know grape growing also, so that has helped me a little bit more.
Exactly.
So if we can think of something like that, it'll be fabulous.
So here's the thing. Rajendra's been talking about, we need a demo site in India. And of course, now we've got Simply Fresh, Triangle, DS. So we're covered on the leafy, on the vine crops, on the blueberries. If you look at me as an investor, show me a crop that you believe has a good ROI, right? If we grew this crop on this density and we had this type of control and protection, then this could be the potential yield and return on investment.
Absolutely.
So just look at me as the investor, because I'm deciding how we're going to market this, where we're going to demonstrate it, if we're going to demonstrate it somewhere. But if there's no compelling financial
of course,
case.
Of course, I do understand. I'm a businessman. I understand putting any money, if you're not going to get any returns, there's no point showcasing even the best of the technology if it's not going to work out the economics.
Exactly.
So I'm with you on that part. Three crops do come into my mind drastically with the rain cover. I'm not talking about the flat roof right now. It could be the berry market, of course. And the other thing is probably dragon fruit or avocado. These are the two more crops that I would think of. I'll of course have to go deeper into the dragon fruit, which is now picking up very well in India. And if we can do that, the Indian market is growing exponentially in terms of the eating habit of these varieties. And since you've got fantastic contacts in other countries to get good varieties related to dragon fruit also, which can be officially brought in, that could be a game changer.
Yep. Well, I mean, the good part when you're in the tree fruit sector, the climate requirements are going to be pretty similar for all of them,
Absolutely.
right? None of them want to go below 10 degrees. None of them want rain. None of them want
Yeah.
sun. None of them want hail. None of them want, 45 degrees in direct sunlight with 20% humidity. None of them want 30 km/h winds. So
Absolutely.
you don't need to zone a roof by tree variety like you do if you're growing cucumbers versus tomatoes,
Absolutely.
right? Completely separate growing zones. In the berries, you actually have to zone them differently because they are different.
True.
So, so this is where, when we talk berries, that will be a whole separate discussion than if we're talking tree fruits. So,
We have to look at a berry or a tree fruit which is going to give us returns. And in tree fruits, particularly, uh, I don't see many crops which can cover up the cost of cravo. So that's why I was coming out to these dragon fruit or maybe the
Yeah.
avocado.
Yeah.
Or maybe if I can convince the VNR team, which is quite proactive in creating fruit tissue culture plants in guava, in a lot of now new varieties which are there expected. It can be looked into it. If we can, we
Yeah.
can partner with some tree planting metal company, breeders
well,
particularly.
because they're the ones, they know the genetic potentials.
They know the genetics. That's right.
And they're also developing the genetics based on the market opportunities.
Yeah.
So
Even
we're
lychee,
seeing-
sorry, I forgot to mention lychee and cherries also, because I've heard now cherries also are in the market which have got low chilling requirements. I don't know, I've not seen the variety, but I've heard that there are some new varieties which are being developed.
yeah,
So these are
the cherry one, the problem typically in the northern hemisphere is that there's a lot of cherry growing areas at the same latitude because of the amount of land in the world at the optimal cherry growing latitude. Southern hemisphere has definite advantages because New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, and Chile is a limited land mass at each each latitude.
correct.
So, and the the tree fruit growers in New Zealand, there's companies that supply the young seedlings. And when they saw the AutoDry rain shelter, they're going, "Oh my God, this is a game changer for our customers." They're the ones that actually can help connect to which customers have the mentality and the capital to make the appropriate investment.
Absolutely.
So, so I think, I'm totally open to looking at options. There just has to be a compelling business case that says, "Hey, this is the, what's the word I'm looking for?"
I'm keen on lychee, Rajendra. Lychee is something which is grown in Bihar and it is brought by air to Mumbai. And in Mumbai now the prices of lychee have gone to 500 to 1000 rupees a kg.
Yeah.
If we can go with dense plantation trimming, lychee somehow can be a game changer for us. The yield is also very high in lychee.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, and the interesting thing about the pandemic has pushed food prices higher worldwide.
Yeah.
which makes investments actually more interesting now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So cool. Well, this is probably a really good first start, just to get our brains connected, thinking about where are the opportunities. And this thing's going to move step by step. So right now, the next step is on my end to finish our testing and say, okay, this is what it's going to look like. This is what the cost is going to be. This is what it can and can't do. And in the meantime, Rajendra can continue, thinking through
Absolutely.
which are the target crops that, you've identified dragon fruit, lychee, things like that. And probably that's where we have to go is to come up with the
or if even Rajendra, whenever you've got time, if you can travel or come down to Nashik region, we will go and talk to some good growers whom I know. And
Yeah,
we'll take some
sure.
ideas from them also, that what is the scene in the coming next 3 years, 5 years, and you'll get a good
Yeah,
picture out of them, because you'll understand the mindset which is going on right now in that region.
that's why I was trying to connect with Ajar, then this guy Mangesh. Mangesh actually little reluctant to talk to us. So
No, we'll talk directly
uh,
to Vilas. I'll take you directly to
yeah, yeah.
Vilas. We'll talk to Vilas Shinde. He's the chairman of the association, very good friend. We'll talk to him
Mm.
directly and try to understand. He's also a good traveler. And if we can convince him for the first setup, then we'll save Richard's investment in that.
I
No,
think
Or
very
at least if we can do a
I will.
JV with him, trust me,
Yeah,
it's going to
that's
be a
that.
win-win situation for all of us.
Agree, absolutely agree. So
Okay.
I'm trying to meet him in this month. Actually, probably he's coming to one of the program in Delhi.
Okay.
So I will try to actually speak to him there
Good.
also. But you know that because Mangesh and Ajar, they have also say. So that's why that I'm trying to
No,
reach
don't
them.
worry about Mangesh. I know Mangesh very well. Mangesh Bhaskar,
Yeah.
I will talk to him because he's
Okay.
also been giving me inquiries for plastics. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
talk to Mangesh. I've got another agronomist also with them. I know a lot of people in Sayadri, so that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
also
yeah.
take you to NRC Grapes, which is in Pune, which is the research station. We'll talk to Dr.
Mm.
Upadhyay. We'll talk to the other doctor also.
Sure.
They are also good friends. If you want, we can go to Solapur for the NRC. Solapur also, the Josna madam knows me very well. We can talk to her also. She's the director right now, and she will also throw some light as to what can be done for pomegranate industry. So there are a lot of
Is there
options.
any, sorry,
Yeah,
is there any scope for Alfonso mango or because I'm seeing there are a lot of challenge they are facing.
they are facing challenges, but the biggest challenge is their mindset.
Okay.
So those people in mango, there's not much of research being done. That's the problem. The research that is
Yeah.
there is a typical, this is the growth hormone that you need to put, this is what you need to, but none of them
Yeah.
are ready to go for the protected cultivation because of the height. They feel that if I trim down the mango to say 7 feet or 8 feet or 10 feet, then I'm not going to get the yield and all that stuff. So the problem is of the mindset with the Alfonso.
What about papaya?
Actually, I have tried to connect to one of the person actually. So I told him that instead of putting on the existing orchard, it is better to start a new orchard with the
Absolutely,
high
always.
density Alfonso varieties in the that area in near Pune actually, where it is what is called that where Alfonso is grown. You know that area.
In Pune? Pune,
No,
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 it's
not
majorly in the Raigad and the Konkan belt.
Raigad.
Raigad and
Yes,
Konkan
yes.
belt
He
is
is
the
from
best
Raigad.
pocket. I'll take you to the Mango Growers Association, the president also. He's again a good friend. But the issue is that mango takes nearly 4 years to get the commercial production. Okay. So if I'm
Yeah,
investing in the initial phase with Cravo, I'm never going to recover because 3 years I've got nothing to do inside unless I take
yeah.
a mixed crop inside.
Well, the other
But
thing, Chetan, is the guys, we're trying to also develop it where you can build it over top of an existing orchard.
exactly, that's where so we'll have to find a grower who's already got dense plantation.
Right.
So
Okay.
the next bet would be Jain irrigation. Jain irrigation, nobody in the country has done so many trials of dense plantation except Jain irrigation. So Jain
Yeah,
irrigation, Jalgaon is one location where we can talk to them to go at least for the rain cover system for
yeah.
mangoes and try to get Alfonso. If I get Alfonso in this season, Richard, the price is nearly 3 times the crop.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Guys, I'm going to have to leave now. I've got to
Yep.
drive back to the office. I got people meeting me there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to cut out here. But Chetan, really nice to see you and fantastic discussion. Really enjoyed it.
No, same. I
Yeah,
hope
yeah.
I've done something and just take care of your health. Always I see you in some of the other problems. So you're not taking good care of your health.
Oh, no, actually, no, I got an eye infection right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I got it from a gender over a Teams call somehow.
Take care. Take care. Just take care.
All right.
We
Thanks,
need you
guys.
much more.
Okay, see ya. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dada, for the nice meeting.